Hi folks, I'm Anti-MS. If you've been trying to skip the Trial of the Sword, and the stasis method and the shield clipping method haven't been working for you, I've got another option for you. There is one tricky bit in it in the setup, but it might be your ticket to skipping the Master Trials. So, just to show you the effect, I'm going to go into the middle trials. This setup uses the moonjump wrong warp to get to the Hinox room, rather than shield clipping, running, and then shield clipping back into a different room. Or stasising out and then using a cryonis block to get back in to the Hinox room. So I've got the wrong warp set up already. I'm just going to jump into this hole and end up in the Hinox room. Then I can simply defeat the Hinox with the metal box, as is done in other methods. I'm going to try to use a slightly fancy technique here. This is something I've been practicing for a long time. It's a little bit tricky. If you don't want to use this method, there are easier methods like bashing him on the underside of the belly or on the chin, like so. And so that counts for the middle trials. If I enter this particular portal and go pick up the Master Sword, that will count for having beaten the middle trials. So, but the trick is, there's some special setup you have to do. I'm going to skip finishing this and go show you where you need to set things up. First things first, you have to have your travel medallion in a very particular spot. And just to show you where that spot is, ignore the stamps here. But this is the location. It's close to the Hebra Great Skeleton. It's close to Hebra North Summit. And it's close to this Sherfin's Secret Hot Spring. And so you might think that that's going to be really easy. You just go to that spot, set the travel medallion, and you're all good. Unfortunately, the travel medallion is deep underground. It is not. It's in an out-of-bounds place that the game is not supposed to allow you to get to. So today I'm going to show you how to get to that place. First things first, I'm going to travel to roughly that area. I'll probably cut the video and show just where I've gotten to the spot where I need to be. So you want to come to roughly this spot on the map, on top of this cliff right here. And hope that there's a Lizalfos down on the ground below us. I'm going to go ahead and save here just in case there's not. If there's not, I can just reload my save file and then check again, and hopefully there will be. In this case, we're lucky there is one. Okay. So at this point... Oh, and sometimes they spawn like that too. So I think I'll just try to use this one to get through the ground. The way these clips go, when he comes close and does a horizontal attack, you do a perfect dodge, which requires some somewhat precise timing, and then you lay a bomb in midair, and you set off the bomb in midair. And if you get the timing right, it will push you through the ground, your own bomb's explosion. will push you through the ground. Not like that, though. Alright, so we just got a clip. Now we have to find the Hebrew Great Skeleton. That's not it. That's it. Alright, so we're going to go over next to the Hebrew Great Skeleton. Those rocks there that you see, I can get up on top of those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my travel medallion there. Reason for that is I want to set up the moonjump glitch. It just makes things a lot easier when you can just infinitely jump. In order to get to where you need to be. Alright, so now I'm going to go set up the moonjump glitch. Alright, so now I'm at the mounted archery camp. There are plenty of guides out there on how to set up the moonjump glitch, so I won't go into a whole lot of detail here. The short version of it is you have to start this minigame, and after you start the minigame, you ignore the minigame itself, and you go jump onto a wild horse and let the timer run out while you're still on the wild horse but have not yet tamed it. So if the timer runs out while the horse is still bucking, you've done it right and you've activated the glitch. Alright, so I have activated the moonjump glitch, as you can clearly see. Now I'm going to warp to where I put my travel medallion. Alright, so now I'm at my travel medallion. Since I have infinite jump enabled, I can move around vertically at will. Now I just have to find the spot where the medallion needs to be. Now, one thing to mention is that I've really only found this a couple times before, so I may do a little bit of meandering before I actually find it, but this should give you a decent idea how to find it yourself. I know I need to be roughly here, kind of between the Korok seed there and the shield stamp that I've put on my map. And it looks like I'm facing pretty well the right direction, so... Okay, we're pretty close. Oops. One thing you may have to watch out for is some invisible walls. Okay, I'm a little too far. Okay, let me orient myself a little bit here. Okay, I'm pretty close to the right spot. I can kind of tell from being able to see those two lasers there, being able to see those couple of pieces of terrain that are kind of floating in the air. Okay, I think I actually see it. I need to go under this wall that's currently invisible. No, I think this is not the right spot. No? No, it is, though. The right spot. Oh. Okay. I think I see it right there. Oops. I just got a slow walk glitch that I can resolve by holding something and walking for a moment. Alright. This is actually the location right here. Ah, I think I told you wrong a little bit ago. I said it was between the stamp here and the Korok seed. But you want to get like right over in this corner. If you're not... Somehow I got the slow walk glitch again. There we go. If you're too high here, you'll end up standing on top of the Hinox room rather than in the Hinox room. Where you want it is way over here at the far corner here. One thing to note, though, you can't actually place your travel medallion while you have infinite jump enabled. So, to get around that, I'm going to summon my Master Cycle, mount it, and dismount it. That disables the infinite jump glitch. So now I can't jump infinitely. I can only jump when I'm on the ground. And now I'll have to place the medallion here at this corner. It's trickier than you might imagine. You might be able to get it right here if you're lucky, but you don't necessarily know if that worked without testing it. If it doesn't work, if you end up standing on top of the Hinox room, then something you may have to do is actually walk down here. Ooh, actually that's a little closer. I'm going to try putting it there. You might have to walk down here where you're actually sliding and place it while you're sliding. You have to just do this a few times. Keep trying this until the place option shows up. Oops. I know I've done it before. But I think probably that spot is good enough. Alright, well I'm going to assume that's good enough. I'm going to go test it out and see if it actually worked. And to test it out, first I have to go set up the moonjump glitch again, and then the wrong warp. Now that I have the moonjump glitch active, without dismounting my horse, I'm going to warp to my travel medallion. That should set up the wrong warp. But first, let's just enjoy this very strange view for a moment. Okay. I'm not sure I have ever seen the horse act quite that way after setting up a moonjump glitch. Alright, now the moonjump glitch should be active. While I'm here, I'm just going to quickly give you a view of the surrounding area so that when you're finding the right spot for your medallion, you can use some of the visual cues to decide whether you're in the right spot or whether you're close to the right spot. The Hebrew Great Skeleton is down there. You can see it through the walls of the cavern. Notice the 2 Divine Beast lasers, and those are Va Meadows and Vanaboris. Alright, so let's see for sure if it worked. I'm going to go to the Korok Forest. So now I'm in the Korok Forest, right in front of the pedestal where I can enter the Trial of the Sword. I'm going to place my sword in the pedestal and enter the middle trials just to test things out, because that's the easiest place to test it out. And now if I fall into this hole, if I had my medallion placed correctly, I should end up in the Hinox room. If it's placed incorrectly, I will probably end up standing on top of the Hinox room. But it looks like it worked out. I am indeed in the Hinox room, and we have set up our wrong warp correctly. Alright, so the middle trials are really easy to void out in. If you want to void out in other trials, however, it might be a little bit harder. So I'm going to show you the easiest ways in the beginning and final trials to void out. So here I am in the first room of the beginning trials where you can void out. There is a pool of water over here where you can void out. It can be a tedious process if you have a lot of stamina, but it doesn't take too horribly long. And indeed, here I am in the Hinox room. First room in the final trials, where you can void out easily. There's a pool right over here, and you can just swim here until you void out, and that should take you to the Hinox room. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. Also, as soon as you start swimming, it puts you into a state, because of the moonjump glitch, where you don't regenerate any stamina. So if you accidentally walk on ground or anything, don't worry about regenerating stamina and losing your progress in voiding out. And there we go. This should take us to the Hinox room. And indeed, here we are. Now, if you are looking to do this as part of a speed run, the fast way to do things is you'll have to do a flurry clip in the beginning and final trials in order to find water that you can drown in and thereby void out. Now, but it's not quite that simple even. With the wrong warp enabled, you're in moonjump mode. And the problem with that is you can't do a backflip. This is what you get when you try to do a backflip. It kind of cancels halfway through, and that's not good enough. In order to do the flurry clip, you have to be able to get through the floor, or you have to be able to do a full backflip in order to get through the floor. So I'm going to show you a series of inputs that will allow you to do a full backflip even while you have the wrong warp enabled. First thing you need to do is gain some height, and then do a backflip, or as much of one as you can do. And while you're doing that backflip, you have to pull out your sword, or you have to hit the attack button, the Y button, while you're in the middle of that backflip. If I show you what that looks like, it may put me in a locked state, so I'm going to tell you the next step first before I do that. After doing that, you'll have to hit the X button again to jump, or to pull out your paraglider. And that's what it looks like. Okay, let me show you that much again. You just have to do a backflip. Oh, I unequipped my sword. You do a backflip, and then attack, and then pull out your paraglider. That's the first part. Now, one thing you do need to consider... Let me take care of these guys quick. This is what I got the upgraded Master Sword for, was to kill style bokoblins with. Not really. Anyway, now one thing you should know, if you do the attack and do that downward thrust attack with a one-handed weapon, if you hit the ground, you'll end up in a locked state. And the only way, as far as I know of, to get out of that locked state is to warp somewhere. So that's definitely a run killer if you end up in that state, in that locked state. So, all right. But the next portion of the inputs, actually, I'll show you this first. So when you do this backflip, what I do in order to pull out my sword is to just kind of slide my finger from the Y button to the X button. I'm sorry, from the X button to the Y button. Right? Next, once you're in this state, you can cancel your paraglider with B, and then you have to do a fall damage cancel. Now, in the run that I do, at this point in the run, when I'm doing this, all I have in my inventory sometimes is a single-handed weapon, or sometimes a single-handed weapon and a spear. And so there are multiple ways to do a fall damage cancel, but in this particular case, I want to do the harder version, the one that's frame perfect. The way you do that, you hold down the throw button and let go, and just at the first frame of the animation where it starts throwing, right there, you want to unequip your weapon by holding right on the D-pad and moving the right joystick left until it's until you've unequipped your weapon. So I'm going to show you that whole thing again one more time. Oh, no I'm not. Alright, now I am. Except I messed it up right there. I was being a little too conservative. There we go. Alright, now I'm in a state where I can do a full backflip. It does put me back into a locked state where I have to do a damage cancel again. But if I do the flurry clip during that backflip, it won't matter. I'll be through the floor and I'll be able to fall into water and void out. So I'm going to show you what it's like to do a flurry clip while in moonjump mode. But first I should mention a couple of things. One, at the point when you do a damage cancel, if instead of doing a damage cancel you get attacked by an enemy and ragdoll, that does just as well. It'll put you into the state where you can do a backflip. So sometimes it's easier to just wait for an enemy to attack you rather than trying to pull off the damage cancel. The other thing I'll mention, when you're in the state where you can do a backflip, if you walk in any direction, it'll take you out of the state where you can do a backflip. So it'll cancel that state and make it so you can't do a full backflip again. So you can't actually move while you are waiting for the enemy to do a horizontal attack so you can do a perfect dodge. Actually, that's not a perfect rule. I think you can move a little bit. Just flick the stick really quickly, and sometimes you still are able to do a full backflip after doing that. It's pretty precise, though, and that's not really something I've experimented with too much. Yeah, so I can't tell you too much about that. But let me show you what it's like to do a Oop. Okay, I am in the right state. And there's our flurry clip. And it works just like that in both the final trials and the beginning trials. One very minor thing, when you do a flurry clip and there's water just under the surface, for some reason sometimes the graphics look a little weird. It looks like you ragdoll on top of the ground for a little bit and then pop through a little bit later. But if there's not water directly underneath the ground, it'll pop you straight through immediately. Alright, well, that is all the content I have for you. Good luck with your speedrunning or with your fully upgraded Master Sword. There aren't a whole lot of great tutorials out there for... There are a couple of things that there aren't great tutorials for, and those are the flurry clip itself, so I may do a tutorial on that at some point, and also the faster or higher damage rate Hinox stun lock with the metal box. I may do a tutorial on that as well, because yeah, I haven't seen anybody else really use that, except for one very obscure video that's not in English. So until next time, thank you very much.